for prosecution, and targeted for repression, for defending the right to sovereignty and self-determination and defense of the land and water against the corporations that would plunder those resources that belong to the indigenous people of this land and that belong to this land itself for greed and profit at the expense of, first and foremost, indigenous peoples, but beyond that, humanity and the earth as a whole. And so we see that indigenous struggles are targeted as terrorism. Black liberation movements are put on the FBI's list of identity extremists in the United States. And so-called anti-terror law has been enacted in the Philippines based on the text of U.S. anti-terror law, much like the anti-terror laws in Canada, in the European Union, in imperialist countries, and in the states whose regimes are subjected to and working hand in hand with for the crimes of imperialism. Just like we see in the Philippines, like we see, for example, in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates, in various countries around the world who are creating so-called anti-terror laws to imprison and persecute those who organize to resist injustice. And of course, we see this in Palestine, where every major Palestinian political party is designated as an illegal association or is called a terrorist group. We see there are 4,650 Palestinian political prisoners in Israeli jails, first and foremost charged with association with an illegal organization. And of course, we see the same thing stretching to hundreds of political prisoners in the Philippines charged with very similar charges. And just 2 months ago, we saw the designation of human rights organizations as so-called terrorist organizations by the state of Israel. Our own organization, Sami Dun, was slapped with this label in February. Why? Simply because we organize with people around the world to defend Palestinian political prisoners. And we see exactly the same thing happening with our comrades in the Philippines, where land defenders, rights defenders, lawyers, those who, just as we see in Palestine, those who are working to hold Israeli officials accountable in the International Criminal Court are being labeled as terrorists by the Israeli state. And in the Philippines, we also see that the lawyers that are working to hold Duterte accountable for his crimes against the people of the Philippines in league with imperialism at the International Criminal Court are also being labeled as terrorists and red tagged and persecuted and subject to killing and death. And here on this land, while Canada pretends to care about human rights when it is opposing a state that is in any way not completely 100% in line with the mandates of Canadian and U.S. imperialism, but they use the language of human rights to justify it. But when the Canadian Foreign Minister is asked about the designation of 6 leading Palestinian human rights organizations as terrorists, she has nothing to say, and instead Canada votes one after the other with Israel at the United Nations to stand for colonial settlement. But of course that's no surprise, because this country, just like the United States, this imperialist state, was built on illegal colonization
我们看到换了另外一个人在说话。
From the International Coalition in Human Rights in the Philippines.
现在主持人换了另外一个，是菲律宾人。菲律宾人开始说话。
然后我们中国人得是上那个一会儿。
欢迎
The International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines, Canada, joins the Filipino people, human rights offenders, peace advocates, and international human rights groups in marking the 73rd International Human Rights Day. We honor activists, human rights defenders as we gain inspiration for them to raise for justice and defend people's rights, especially the poor and marginalized. We are deeply concerned about the exponential rise in human rights violations and war crimes encountered during insurgency. Under Duterte, the Philippines has become a killing ground for alleged drug suspects, moral communities, political dissidents, community organizers, indigenous peoples, and human rights advocates. The Duterte regime has institutionalized the killing of dissenters, praising human rights offenders and government critics, and all those working to improve the lives of ordinary Filipinos in grave danger. As recently as this week, the regime is conducting aerial bombardment campaigns against civilian targets in Panay Island. Indiscriminate bombing of civilians constitutes a war crime and crime against humanity under the Geneva Conventions. Investigate PH and the UN Human Rights Council have undertaken meticulous documentation of the crimes of the Duterte regime. These bodies have exposed Duterte's bloody war on blood, resulting in extrajudicial killings of tens of thousands. Investigate PH also built upon the work of Human Rights Council by collecting and documenting evidence on the Duterte administration's wars on dissenters and the Moro people. The ICC launched an investigation into the human rights violations committed during the war on drugs in June of 2021. Despite countless testimonies from witnesses and evidence gathered from human rights organizations such as Kalapatan, Rise Up for Life and Rights, and others, the Duterte government issued a request to the ICC to suspend the investigation, stating that all murders were an act of self-defense and the actual final violations were not as many as reported. As per protocol of the ICC and to widespread outcry from the international community, the request was granted and the investigation partially suspended in early December 2021. Shame! The creation of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, the NTM-LCAC, the July 2020 anti-terror law, and increasingly the justice system are institutionalizing repression that broadly harms civil society, from alleged communists to churches to long-standing democratic institutions. With the NTM-LCAC budget cut down by the Senate from 28 billion Philippine pesos to 10.8 billion, it brandishes peaceful projects as solutions to the armed conflict. Yet, the long history of armed revolution in the country is rooted in much deeper problems of lawlessness and socio-economic injustice. Problems which are accentuated by the economic recession and pandemic. Armed conflict can only break out by genuinely addressing its roots and striving for a lasting peace based on justice. Basic remedies such as elements of the judiciary are complicit on the role of the Senate to support police attack dissenters by providing broad powers to warrants of search and arrest of deeply armed defense of the accused. The courts are the one element in the entire machinery which has been organized in the fascist
我们留恋的方式，加拿大的比较好。你给我发信息，我把电话给你，等结束之后我给你发给你。好的。
For justice and accountability, Canada calls on the Duterte government to abolish NTM-LCAC, put a stop to extrajudicial killings in the counter-insurgency and drug campaigns, and to bring all perpetrators to become accountable for their crimes, and to facilitate the immediate release of all political prisoners, upholding the rights of citizens against unwarranted and unjustified arrests and detentions, and correct the injustice against them. Finally, we urge the international community and international institutions to stand with the victims and those who struggle for democracy and human rights, We urge the International Criminal Court to pursue its case against the Philippines and to Turkey to follow the evidence and give rules to victims. We urge the UNHRC to conduct its own independent investigation of the Philippines. We call on the International Labour Organization to escalate its high-level tripartite mission to the Philippines. And finally, we call on democratic governments to pursue justice and give no sanctuary to the perpetrators of human rights violations and crimes against humanity by using Magnitsky sanctions against Duterte and his criminal cabal.
Thank you, Murphy. So next up, from Onic Bayan, BC, we have Miguel with a little cultural performance for us.
摇滚，yeah. 寓教于乐啊。
So there's a lyric in the song, I made the song, but there's a lyric, Making Baka, Wag Matangkot. It's used by many Filipino activists. And basically, if you know the melody, just sing it. It means to struggle and not be afraid, which is what we need now more than ever. As people who are aware of these situations and also continue to resist.
Can you tell me which group you're with?
I'm sorry, English I don't know.
Who are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah.
My name is Huayong.
No, for your organization. Your video, why? Why?
English.
Why the video?
This.
Yeah.
This.
Why?
My friend.
这地方是一个交通汇流区，有很多的汽车。
你说 this。
I don't know.
很多人。这是一个公共汽车站，公共汽车站它每个叫公共汽车站这个。
我听不懂他的说话。
这是他自己写的歌曲。
你这块很好。他老给我打电话，我这边直播啊，我这
刚才有人反映爆音了，现在我们把音量给换到这种情形，应该会好一些。
Militant greetings to one and all. Today, on International Human Rights Day, let us all honor the contributions of those who have fought to defend the basic human rights of peasants, workers, women and children, church people, lawyers, journalists, urban folk. The church's law, anti-terror law, is not a vicious man that dragons those who can be branded as terrorists. The third tragedy before is also against World War, which has killed more than 30,000. Most of whom have even had the opportunity to present themselves in court, prove their innocence, and undergo medical-based rehabilitation. We call on all freedom-loving Filipinos and our solidarity friends to us aspiring candidates in the Philippine elections to jump the anti-terror law and abolish the National Task Force to end local communist armed conflict. This task force is an instrument used by the Duterte's regime to red tag activists, attack and kill on all those who dare to criticize the regime. We must continue to push for the resumption of the peace talks negotiations in the Philippines. We must call for the release of all political prisoners. It is important that the governments and even the incoming government must address the root causes of the armed conflict, which ultimately addresses massive poverty, landlessness, and the need for a self-sustainable economic situation in the Philippines and the Philippine people. Just as the Filipinos fought the U.S. Marcos regime, the Filipino people will continue to fight back against the U.S. China dictator regime. The Turkish desire to stay in power beyond 2022 and the return of the Marcos state in Malacanang must be stopped. There are no human rights violators in the people. As basic human rights are violated, it is imperative that we house this regime. Duterte, wakasan na. Always fought for liberation. And tonight and tomorrow, we must condemn the Biden summit for democracy, because it is not a summit for democracy. It is a gathering of tyrants whose interest is to consolidate their power so that they can even oppress and exploit people of the world.
I don't read that.
Shame
You tell
on the
me.
Biden
Why are you
government.
here? Why are you here?
Today on International Human Rights Day, let us not only remember those who have been martyred by the political turmoil, especially in the Philippines, martyred by the... Let us continue to fight for what they are fighting for and take the necessary steps to bring solidarity to the Filipino people and grow the movement for national democracy. In closing, let me remind you, resistance is our right, solidarity is our duty. Long live international solidarity.
Taiwanese? Are you from Taiwan? Taiwan?
Long live international solidarity! Long live international solidarity! So next up, we're going to have another cultural performance from
他们在说
UBC.
下次他们要准备到 UBC 了。他们说国际的这个团结万岁。我们看到他们这地方有不同的人来参与。
Alright, everyone. So we're gonna have a lot of energy for this song while we're getting set up. I'd like to explain a little bit about what we're gonna sing and also what Sulong is.
我们看到华勇的团体带了这一班人，这一班人都是华勇带来的团结工会的人马。现在华勇先生也正在直播。
The song that we're going to sing today is Awit ng Kalayaan. That means the song of freedom. It's traditionally sung as part of rallies and mobilizations in the Philippines, so it involves a lot of audience participation. We invite you to clap your hands and also to sing the chant. It's a very call and answer song, so that will be apparent when you listen to it. So everyone who's also part of Sulong who wants to come up, please do. This is your time.
我们现在继续来看到不同的地方、不同的角度。今天呢是二战结束 以后由世界这些联合精英宣誓的国际人权日。1948年以后开始考，现在是菲律宾人正在唱歌。
Revolution ni Bonifacio, isulong mo bagong tipo. Ang tao, ang bayan, ngayon ay lumalaban. Ang bayan, el pueblo unido, jamás será vencido. The people united will never be defeated. The people united. Bayang api, bayang ginugutom, bayang minasakit, magkapipisig. Durugin ang kaaway, aklas ang bayan, iisa lang kasagutan.
我们看到现在是冒着大雨，人们一点的退却的精神都没有，非常积极。
Malapit na ang kalayaan. Imperialismo! Ibagsak! Bureaukrata! Kapitalismo! Ibagsak! Feudalismo! Ibagsak! Duterte mismo! Babagsak! Duterte mismo! Babagsak! Hindi tayo titigil hanggat di nagwawagi ang ating mithiin magkapantay-pantay. Walang magsasamantala, walang mang-aapi. Yan ang sandigan ng ating pamumuhay.
Wrapping up out here pretty shortly. And thank you and salutes to everyone who has come out to stand out on Human Rights Day to say that we're going to
Charlotte. We're going to be wrapping up now, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick group photo. So here, where do we want it? Here. We'll do it over here. So we're going to put, oh, there. Everybody go over there.
感觉他们现在是结束了。现在他们在结束了，我们顺便能不能采访一下华勇先生？哎，你好，你好，米娜。我们今天这地方采访你，下去吧。好，我们现在好。好，他们现在过来了。等一下，我们来采访他们一下。华勇，
拿着蹲这儿。
华勇进去。
我也过去，我没放这儿就行。
现在华勇的团结工会的人和主流，他们这些抗议的主流全部汇合了。我们看到，在这个温哥华交流很繁忙的这个路，可以看到这一帮人大家非常齐心，在冬天的小雨里。我们看到他们在宣誓，非常感动啊！这帮人在雨里面，在国际人权日，在为人权进行奋斗。好。采访一下华勇先生。好，我们在他们活动结束以后，再进行个别的采访一下。这里是海外华人直播，我们始终不办高声，我们力求直播传真。看到这里的朋友，请给我们一个点赞，或者在视频的右下方订阅我们的频道。我们看到他们这边的各界的人士都在人群中，我们在寻找一些愿意为我们发声发言的一些人。我们看看比较熟悉的华人代表吧。Hello， 好，我们看到华勇和他们团结工会的朋友现在都在一起了。
来，你过去给我们照相。
好。
你把那个手机给他就行，你也过来照相，给他。大姐，来照个相。大姐，转过来。先照两圈。
好，这个活动结束以后，我们看到团结工会的人站在一起。
好了好了，来你看看照的怎么样，行不行？看一眼。你好汉，你再补2张，给我们再照2张。哎，你再给我们照2张。举个手势吧。啊？要不要举个手势？
好，这是他们活动以后，华涌这个团结工会的人在一起。
他相机也照一张，好看。哎，好。今天那个活动结束，这边就待一会儿。来，好看，来，给你拿个碗。
你站在中间好吗？对，站在中间。对对。拿着这个牌子拿起来。
OK， 来 ，OK， 对了，太棒了。举起来，好嘞，拿起来 ，OK。好嘞。
今天国际人权日，我们乘着来自国际上的五湖四海，目的就是追求的每一个人的平等，不管你是男的和女的平等，不管你是同性恋还是普通人的平等。那我们来采访一下，我们温哥华第一任这个温哥华女市长的一个2014年的米娜王。你好，米娜。今天你们来参加这个活动，能不能用中文给我们介绍一下？今天这个国际活动日的意义。
今天是12月10号，是国际人权日。我们在这里呢，就是为了争取人权，为世界人民争取人权。在一些集权专制国家呢，希望他们也尊重人权。这是普世价值观嘛，就是我们文明社会、文明人国家都是遵守这个人权的。那当然，有些国家就是他们说他们有他们自己方式的这个人权的哈，还有民主，这是我觉得他们是欺骗人民的。当一个政府不是人民选出来的，那怎么会是民主呢？一个政府不能代表人民。如果你不是被民选出来的，被人民选出来的，
你可以把我。
今天来这个你们和团结工会来，可不可以说是很有意义？就因为我看到是华人这里面，公民力量，
这是公民力量，我们是团结工会。
公民力量和团结力量就是代表华人这个面孔来，今天是很新鲜哦。
对，我们这里就是跟不同族裔，加拿大是多族裔国家，我们跟不同的族裔、不同的他们自己也有在他们原住国的这个社会问题，还有他们的这些关于人权面对人权的问题，所以我们在这里大家齐心合力的共同支援。
今天你们是支持菲律宾人和巴勒斯坦人对吧？
听不见，刚才过
今天是好像是菲律宾人和巴勒斯坦人，他们在这
也有加拿大人呢。我们在这儿，我们都是加拿大人呢，我们都在这里啊，对吧？
对，只不过非裔的和巴裔的是吧？
对，还有就是关心，你知道也有白人的，不同族裔的人都在这里都有，并不是说这2个族裔才在这里， 还有很多就是加拿大人都关心这个问题的。
今天你们公民力量协会为华人是有什么主张吗？你们在这样来这参加？
我们本身呢就是公民教育方面的，就是鼓励公民参与所以叫公民力量促进会。就是说，我们新移民来到这个国家，一个民主的国家，一个尊重人权的国家，我们要学习什么是人权，什么是真正的民主，要有一个认识。那我们公民力量促进会就是做这一方面的工作。
那你们怎么很偶然，还是今天你们专门选定这个国际人权日，跟华涌他们团结工会不约而同的来，还是怎么回事呢？
我们是互相，就是说，因为我们做这一方面，就是希望新移民多着跟主流社会像这种活动多着参与，大家可以建立更多的这个互助互通的这个桥梁在这里。那希望以后将来有这种将来再有这种活动的时候，或者咱们主办活动的时候，他们也可以出来，对不对啊？来支持，互相支持这样子，这是我希望，就是说公民力量